Hello, welcome to Beach View, our podcast about all sorts of things and stuff.
Yes, and today we're doing another movie. This time we're doing Murder on the Orient Express, which is a 2017 adaptation of the 1934 Agatha Christie novel of the same name.
Right. So, I am surprised I haven't seen this yet, seeing as it came out in 2017. I don't know where I've been since 2017, but it is one that I've wanted to see but kind of forgotten about, whenever we kind of came back around to it this time for the podcast, I was like, oh yeah, I had wanted to see that, but just totally forgotten about it.
Yeah, and I believe you have seen the sequel, or I guess technically sequel. I think the Poirot novels are like an anthology series.
Mm-hmm.
But from the same creative team, Death on the Nile. I believe you've talked about that on the podcast too.
Yeah, I think I did, and I like that one. And as we've kind of talked about before, I always enjoy a nice little detective murder mystery story, and I like the kind of anthology type of things where you see the same detective with a different cast of characters each time, and kind of that closed environment type of thing. I enjoy those. I think those types of movies and books are just entertaining. They have a certain quality to them that you kind of know the formula of what to expect, but you don't know, at least I don't know, who did it or how they did it and that kind of stuff. So I always enjoy these types of movies.
Yeah, it's a fun genre, which we've talked about before on the podcast. And this is another example of it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, and this is, I believe, a really famous, murder mystery. I think it's considered, a classic. At least the original book is.
That's why I wanted to watch this 2017 adaptation, because I have seen that this has been adapted, so many different times. I think it was, an episode in some little series. I think there was a Poirot series, the detective, just a TV show. It was a movie before, as we talked about. Seen it in books. You've kind of seen it riffed in other shows and movies, slightly. There's always references to this movie or this novel, and that's why it intrigued me to see the 2017 version.
Yeah. Which, what'd you think of this movie?
So I liked it. I knew that it had some bad reviews. I never read the bad reviews, but I knew that it wasn't this version wasn't considered to be the best version, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It did get a little bit slow during some parts, but once they wrap it all up, I thought it was intriguing. What about you?
Yeah, it's a fine one of these. Not my favorite.
Yeah.
I already knew the ending, just because, someone talked about it randomly on a podcast once.
Oh, I didn't know the ending.
Yeah, I did, and I remember them saying that they always felt like that was a cop-out, and, getting to it, I was kind of yeah, I agree. I feel like, I get why you would go with that for a murder mystery, but at the same time, I'm kind of I think it makes for a weaker story.
It does. It kind of makes for a weaker story. I can see your point, but at the same time, I had no idea. I didn't see it coming. So I guess it was effective in that way, because I really didn't realize what it was all about.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I guess I like that part, at the end where Poirot's kind of met with a difficult decision. I think that's sort of a fun wrinkle in detective stories, is what if you found out who did it, and you're it's probably best if they get away with the crime.
Right, exactly. That was surprising to me, because I didn't see that part coming either, because how he's I can't tell a lie. I have to tell the truth. I thought for sure he was going to be it's not in my hands. I'm going to tell him the truth. Whatever happens, happens. But it kind of was a little twist at the end where he's you know what? Let's just let bygones be bygones, So that was definitely interesting. One thing I really loved about this adaptation is that it was a full, I think it was like 83 years since the novel was released. And I really like when filmmakers revisit like old novels. To me, it like just kind of tells the lasting power of that story. And of course, Agatha Christie's, I consider all of those classics. So this is one that I was really intrigued to see. And because of its star-studded cast list, so you had everybody from, Johnny Depp, Judi Dench, Josh Gad, Leslie Odom Jr., who am I missing? Michelle Pfeiffer. There's like so many people in this
Daisy
movie.
Ridley, famous for being in a Star Wars.
Daisy Ridley. Who am I missing? I know there's more.
Willem Dafoe.
Yes, how could you forget him? There's so many people. But especially like, I'll say like older actors like Johnny Depp and Michelle Pfeiffer that have had like, huge careers. I enjoy seeing them and stuff like this. Tom Bateman, he was in it. I'm trying to see who else. And then Kenneth Branagh, I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I don't know.
He played Poirot and he was the director apparently. I didn't know that. So he directed and starred in the film. But anyway, there's like a ton of people in this. And that's why another reason I want to see it, because usually those like full star casts, like, the movie falls flat. Which by all accounts I've seen online, like people did not like this movie, but I thought they did a good job. I didn't feel like anybody outshone any of the other ones. I felt like the ensemble was like a good thing in this movie. What did you think about that?
I mean, it works, I guess. I didn't have any opinion about it.
Yeah. You know how sometimes when you have like all these big stars together, it just doesn't work?
I don't watch enough movies to make a comment on that.
Okay, I got you. Well, anyway, I thought this one worked. And I think like one thing that intrigued me about it too is like the luxury of the Orient Express, the train. Because there's actually like a real like Orient Express where you can take like a luxury train between, these destinations in Europe. And I just like the lore of that.
Apparently it ended operation in 2009, so was.
No, I think there was another one. I read about it in like Travel and Leisure.
Oh, okay. Well, if the Wikipedia page says it operated from 1883 to 2009.
No, I think they redid it.
Apparently there are new trains using the same name, but
yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know, like the route's the same, or it's not the same, like unbroken line.
It's not the classic one, yeah, but it there is like a trip where you could take the Orient Express and go through those destinations. So it may not be the original train, but there's definitely ones that are available now in Europe, and it's like a luxury, like first class, trip. Anyways, it's kind of like one of those like what do you not tourist attractions, but what do you call it? Where it's like, I mean, I guess it's like a novelty, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, so I know they exist. But I think like the luxuriousness of the luxury of the Orient Express, like the old school, like train cars and just like the fancy dining, like, the older things that you see on like luxury travel. I really enjoyed seeing that here. And then of course the scenery, although a lot of it's CGI and you can tell.
I thought the CGI was bad.
The CGI was bad, but knowing like that area, like the beauty of it, because it's supposed to be like the most beautiful train ride, okay, like through those areas. So I thought that the scenery was going to be better. The CGI just didn't do it for it. Like that made it feel like a little less authentic, I guess, obviously, CGI. But I wanted to see the scenery and the train and like all of that stuff. So that's why I wanted to see this movie too.
Yeah, I wonder how the like older or other adaptations handle that, if they use CGI or they just try to like film on location or a similar location.
Yeah, exactly. I thought like that's kind of how it would be if they just filmed, some beautiful scenery somewhere, but it was definitely like CGI all the way.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the shots of the train in CGI. Like I thought that was just like kind of just so fake looking.
Yeah, I thought the worst part was when they were leaving Istanbul.
Yeah.
I thought that was the worst, like, CGI in the
Wait,
whole film.
I thought the worst CGI was when they show like the train gets caught up in the snow and they're
Oh,
like
yeah, the
the big
avalanche.
train bridge. Yes, like the when they pan out and they show like half the train is like over this bridge, and the other half is like stuck in the snow. I was like, that looks so fake. I mean, obviously, but but I thought that kind of took away from but I also always want to give credit to these technicians and artists because I'm sure that took a lot of work to do that CGI. So I don't want to take away from that, but as far as the authenticity of the film, it didn't do a great job.
No.
But I think you can expect that in these kinds of films too. So didn't like bother me, but I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care if, like, CGI is bad in a film. There's never something that bothers me.
Yeah.
But I
I mean,
did,
it's just
like,
kind of like,
notice it.
yeah, exactly. It was noteworthy, but it was kind of like, I mean, what else are you going to do? You're trying to show a train stuck in an avalanche. Like, what are you going to do? You need CGI. So I think it does a good job in telling the story.
People managed to do trains stuck in avalanches and other sort of, like, stuff like that long before computers were capable of doing this, so.
Yeah, but if you want to show those really dramatic looking things, like you're going to go CGI all the way now?
Honestly, just, like, get a model train and fudge the perspective.
Right?
I
I
don't know.
know. That would be pretty cool. I mean, I love all the like old school before CGI. Like, I just think that, and we kind of talked about that before. I think when we were talking about The Thing,
Yeah.
like, where I just think it's so, like, that's when the artistry, like, really shone. But anyway, so for this one, the CGI was a little bit of a takeaway for me, but it was kind of like, whatever. What you gonna do?
Yeah. I will say I liked some of the cinematography,
Yeah.
especially like a lot of the shots where like using the train as framing, like when they're first entering the train and it shows the people like move, like Poirot moving from outside of the train, or at the end where he's like watching everybody pass through the train. I thought that was cool. I
Yes.
thought when they for like really extended sequence during the investigation, I think multiple times actually they shoot it from above, which I
Yeah.
thought was an interesting choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that too.
But I will say the two like actiony scenes were really poorly shot.
Yeah.
Like the I felt like they cut too much and the lines of action were just like nonsensical. Like you could barely tell what was going on. At
Yeah.
least I like was like, what are they doing here with these cuts? Like when he's chasing that one guy down, or that one fight that happens for like 5 seconds before ending.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that completely. When they showed like the stabbing, like when they actually showed it, I was like, what the heck is even going on? Like, I mean, you could tell what was going on, but I was still kind of like, this is a little
Yeah, it was a
oddly
bit
filmed.
weird.
Yeah, that was definitely a bit weird, but the rest of the cinematography I thought was good.
Yeah, for the most part, I like the cinematography. Though I will say, I thought the pacing was weird. Like, I thought it was fine at first. We get, like, the little introduction of Poirot, and then, like, the introduction of, like, all the characters that are gonna be our principal players in this mystery, typical murder mystery stuff. Like,
Yeah.
who's the suspect, who might have done the deed, like, who's gonna get killed, and then, I thought once we get into the actual investigation, there's a lot of, like, weird pacing issues where sometimes it would go really slow, like really intently on a certain detail or like interrogation, and sometimes it would move very breakneck through those. Like the cuts would be really fast and it would be like all of a sudden we have this new piece of information that we're acting on, and it just you learn like 3 new things at once. And it was
Yes.
this. I don't know if that's like true to the original story. That's entirely possible, but it just felt paced weird to me during that part.
I will agree with that. And then this may just be me, but because of like that pacing throughout the movie, I had trouble keeping up with who the characters were.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of them, so.
There's a lot of characters, yeah, which is normal for these types of movies. And I always have trouble like keeping up with like, wait, who is that? Like when they showed the what is the lady who's married to the Russian dancer?
Yeah.
I forget. Like
she's a dancer herself.
Is she like a countess or something? Like she has a title.
No, like he's I forget what it was, but there's two like royal people on it. There's the one older lady, and then there's the like
princess.
The two dancers.
Yeah, like one's a princess, one's like a governess, and one's like a countess or something.
Yeah.
But when they showed like that lady and her husband, and she's like all hopped up on Barbadol, like that woman, I was like, who is that? Like I didn't remember from the beginning. I was like, wait, either. What? Yeah, so I mean, that's just me though. And when you have like a 2-hour movie, or however long it was a long movie. I was kind of like, wait, what?
It's less than 2 hours, isn't it? It's like 150?
Yeah, I think it was like 2 hours.
114 minutes, so less than 2 hours. Yeah, that's not that long.
No, it said 153 on my, maybe that's with credits and everything, I don't know.
153?
I mean, I'm sorry, 153.
Yeah, 1 hour and 53 minutes.
Okay.
That's less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's anyways. Not a long movie.
It felt like a very long movie.
Okay, yeah, that is a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I didn't remember it. Like I was just like, I thought it was very long. But I think it's because there's so many characters.
Yeah, there are a lot of characters.
Yeah. So anyways, it was I just had trouble like keeping up with the cast of characters. But I thought that Johnny Depp, I was surprised. He played businessman, like a shady businessman, Ratchet. And I thought he did a great job playing it, like definitely had that shadiness down. But he wasn't in it for very long, which I thought was interesting.
That's what happens when you play the character that dies and starts the murder mystery. Like
spoiler alert, yeah. But he but I thought he did a good job. And but I was surprised. I was like, oh snap, like he's not in it for that long. So anyway, I thought that was good. And yeah, do you want to get into like plot synopsis, or do you want to keep talking about
I'll do the plot synopsis and then we'll keep going with it.
Okay.
Which is actually kind of a weird plot synopsis, but cause so it starts off like fairly normal. I don't think this part was in the original book, but it's like introducing Poirot. He's doing a case in Jerusalem in 1934 where he like finds out the actual culprit wasn't any of the people we thought it was, but rather the like captain of the guard. So, we do that and it introduces his character. He's this like genius detective. He plans out for all the contingencies. He notices the small details, and he's very like black and white with his moral thinking, and that sort of matches his sort of like obsessiveness with like we are introduced with him like wanting perfect eggs. He wants them to get like perfectly shaped eggs, and refuses to eat them because they're not perfect. And he's also like, he corrects people like, please fix your tie.
Yeah.
So he's both like, has a very black and white view of morality and a very set view of like how things are, the proper order of things in like life with like eggs and stuff. And then he decides he's gonna take a vacation, so he goes to Istanbul, and while there, he gets interrupted by, he also meets two of the characters that'll later be on the Orient Express, and eavesdrops on them, which comes up later. But, while there, he gets, interrupted by someone being like, hey, you have a new case to solve. Vacation over, and, he's also, like, while he gets this new case, he's talking to the proprietor or owner, whatever, of the Orient Express, who he knows, and he's like, I'm gonna need to charter your train, so he does. And so he gets on the train with all these other, like, rich people, because it is a luxury train, which are, right, and we, like, have a scene of them all being introduced. So we have the owner guy, Poirot, of course. See, I'm trying to like do it by when they're introduced, but I don't remember. So we have Ratchet, who you mentioned, who's like a shady businessman, has been getting threats. The one older woman, I forget what, I don't know if they ever say who she is at first, but she's like unmarried and apparently looking for a husband. That's her line at
Yeah.
least.
I think she was kind of just described as like a widower.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, a widow.
Ratchet has a secretary and also a, like, I guess he's a butler.
Like a valet, yeah.
Yeah, he's an old guy. We have, the, governess, Mary, who we mentioned earlier, and a doctor who's, secretly her lover. I'm looking at a list and I'm still forgetting some of these characters. The one, like, nurse turned nun?
Yeah.
Who's, like, very religious.
Penelope Cruz, which I forgot to mention her.
The Austrian guy.
Yeah, the professor.
Yeah, who's a professor. Let's see, oh, right, the, princess, the older woman, and her assistant.
Mm-hmm.
The two, dancers who are, like, a count and countess, I believe. Is that everybody?
I know, I feel like I'm forgetting.
Oh, right, the Italian guy,
Oh yeah, I forgot
he's
about
also
him.
like a
The
car
salesman or
salesman,
something. Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, I think that's everybody, right?
I think so.
I'm probably forgetting somebody. Oh well, there's a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And the Ratchet is, businessman, has shady dealings. He comes up to Poirot and is like, "Hey, I have people trying to threaten me. I'm gonna pay you for protection." And Poirot says no, because he doesn't like dirty money or whatever. And then, there's like a few scenes where these like, suspiciously people keep coming to his room, and Poirot's always like checking.
Well, wait, don't forget that Ratchet, like, when Poirot says no, he, like, pulls out his gun.
Yes.
And is basically like, maybe this will convince you otherwise. And
yeah.
Still Poirot was like, no.
Yep. And then, there's the avalanche, which derails the train. And then, a little bit after that, there's been a murder. Ratchet is found dead. And then, like, we go through various scenes of him interrogating various characters and finding clues, and, like, I don't remember the specific order everything happens in. But basically, the like, basic gist of it is he keeps, like, poking around and finding clues, and he keeps finding, like, reasons for everybody to sort of, like, have motive for this. Pretty early on in this, he realizes that Ratchet's actual name was Carcetti, and he was actually the murderer of the Armstrongs, or kidnapper and murderer of the Armstrong child, which is based on, like, the Lindbergh baby case.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
What, you didn't pick that up?
No.
I don't even know that much about that, but that's, like, a rather, famous, incident.
I don't really know about that.
Yeah, no, it's, the Lindbergh baby, because Charles Lindbergh, the big airplane man, yeah, he had a child, and the child got abducted, and this was, like, a big, like, sensational case. I don't know much about it, I just know that that was, like, a big deal in the 30s.
Yeah.
And that's, like, the Armstrongs are loosely based on that.
Okay.
But anyways, like, he commits, like, murder, and he got away with it, and it's, like, changed his name, and he realizes that, like, and it turns out everybody, like, has, like, opportunity and, like, motive, because they all are somehow connected to the Armstrong family.
Yeah.
Like, he keeps finding that out, and like, there keeps being, like, some sort of thing that makes it so that they can't quite have done the deed. Like, someone either vouches for them, or, like, they have an alibi, or, there's some reason, like, someone else pops up to be, like, the murderer. There's some reason why it doesn't work out for them to be it, and he keeps going through this and going through this.
Right.
And, you wanted me to just, like, run down the individual people and, like, what their, reasoning is?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so, well, first his, assistant, is the obvious, like, immediate culprit. I think he's who he interviews first.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, like, later revealed to be, like, skimming off the top, and then later after that it's revealed that, his father, ended up being involved in the case as a lawyer, and they, like, kind of pressed
Oh,
him.
wait, no, I thought he was the police chief.
No, he was a lawyer. He was a prosecutor.
Oh. Oh, okay.
And he felt like he got pressed into pursuing the case just to, like, pick someone up for it, and they picked up the maid, who was innocent, but, like, went
Innocent,
ahead with the
yeah.
prosecution despite that, and she ends up, like, killing herself over it. And, like, he feels like this incident ruined his dad's life, so that's, like, his motive.
Yeah.
What's his face? His butler is dying. It's later revealed that he's friends with Colonel Armstrong, or was. Like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention the baby getting murdered. Like, basically kills the two parents out of grief too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's see
Yeah, so they think that the butler has nothing to lose because he says he has I guess it's a thyroid cancer or something like that. Same thing that killed his father. So they're like, he has nothing to lose. It could have been him.
Yeah. The nurse turned nun. The reason why she became a nun is because, this incident made her, like, all, like, messed up about it, because she was the nurse at the, like, time, when the baby was kidnapped, and she was there when it happened, and was unable to do anything about it.
Yeah.
The German professor turns out to be an American who is pretending to be a professor.
Yeah.
And he was the lover of the French maid, who was, like, prosecuted. And that's his, like, motive for this.
Well, and he says he was a undercover detective following
a Pinkerton,
Ratchet because he was
hired
being
to
threatened.
Protect him. Yes.
Yeah.
We have the princess, who was the godmother of the child that was abducted, and friends with the family. The doctor served with the family during the war, and, he was the reason he got to go to medical school. The governess, I forget why she was involved.
The governess wasn't Daisy her sister?
Maybe
the mom of the baby who was kidnapped, I think, was her sister.
Maybe that was it. I don't remember.
I think that was it. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then the countess.
Yes, she was related to
her mom was, what was it? Oh, she was the other child, right?
Yeah, she was like an actress, and
she was
she finds out she was an actress, and that's why, like, this gets discovered. I don't see. There's a lot of, like, balls in the air, and they ultimately don't end up mattering because everybody did it.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah, I think she was the sister to the girl who was kidnapped and killed.
Yeah, she's related.
Yeah.
I know that much. The Italian car salesman was the chauffeur for the Armstrong family.
Yeah.
The one guy who's her husband's involved because he's the husband, I think. I don't think he had any other relation.
Yeah, his husband. He was just there.
Wasn't one of them also, like, the maid to the princess, assistant, whatever, was also, like, hired by the Armstrong family beforehand? So
yeah, I don't even remember what she did, but
but anyways,
they're all tied.
Yes,
yeah,
they were all
tied.
like they were all affected by this case, either related directly or worked for them, or like related to the maid that ends up getting involved in this and dying. So they all have reasons to want to kill Ratchet, aka Cassetti, and so he keeps racking himself over this. And eventually he has them all outside. They have to leave because they're the rescue crew finally derails the train, re-rails the train. I don't know.
Re-rails the train. I don't know how you say it. Yeah.
And they're all outside, and he has them at a table, and he's all giving the speech about revealing, and he's like, there's two possibilities here. One that doesn't fit with all the evidence, and one that just, like, seems really, like, wild to consider.
Yeah.
And the one he says is that, because he was worried about, he made deals with the Italian mafia, so he's worried, like, Cassetti, had made deals with the Italian mafia, and he's like, because that was his, like, initial concern, was that the, mafia was after him.
Mm-hmm.
They were the ones sending the death threats, and he's like, so they got someone to come on board and kill him and escape, like, in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
But there's, like, a bunch of, like, other evidence scattered around that would suggest, like, no, it had to be someone on the, train.
Yeah.
But again, because people keep coming up and being like, oh no, I have, like, an alibi, I was with them all night, or,
Yeah.
they couldn't have let the cab in, etc. And so he's, like, eventually realizing, no, you all did it.
Yeah. Which like I said, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and he's all like, none of you seem like killers to me. And there's, like, a whole deal made about, like, whether or not they're actually killers. And, at the end, he's like, what's her name? The, like, widow who's hanging around. She's,
Played by
yeah, I
Michelle
didn't say, like,
Pfeiffer.
yeah, why she was,
Oh, yeah.
because, what was her connection to this again?
Wait, let me think about this.
Okay, I'm reading this. I've been reading off a list to help with a lot of these because I don't remember.
Okay, good, because I'm like, I don't remember when
But she was the grandmother of the child abducted and killed.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and she was wearing a wig the whole time. But she
Yeah,
takes
she
off at
pulls
the
off
end
her
and
wig.
says, this was my plan, I should be the only one to take the fall for this.
Yeah.
They were all just going along with my plan, and he says, Poirot, like, sets his gun down on the table and is like, look, I I have to do what's right. I have to turn you in. If you all want to come out of here innocent, then you're gonna have to kill me. None of them have the guts to do it. So, I guess that's, like, what makes him decide, he's gonna...
I feel like that was, like, the final test to, like, so he could attest to their character. So, Michelle Pfeiffer's character, grabs the gun, and you're like, oh no, is she gonna shoot him? But she ends up turning it on herself, but she pulls the trigger and there's no bullets.
Yep.
So I think that was, like, his final, like, test to see what kind of people these are and whether he should turn them in or not.
Yeah. And he ends up telling the police that, once they finally get back on the rail and get to the station, he ends up telling them that, his other theory that, it was just a mafia member who snuck on and left. And he gives, like, a big speech to them about, maybe he's gonna let them go, maybe they can all heal from this, like, great tragedy that's befallen them.
Yeah. He's kind of like, what's done is done, like, y'all just, go about your lives. But I thought like I was saying, the scene with the stabbing, so they show, like, everybody taking a turn stabbing him.
Yes, in flashback.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of goofy. Not goofy, but I was just kind of like, ugh.
It was weirdly shot, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, we have the little ending where he's walking off, to, like, continue his journey to London, where he's been summoned to solve a crime. And then someone else intercepts him with, a sequel hook for the next movie, Death on the Nile. And he's not happy about that.
Yeah.
Because he just wants to have his vacation.
Yeah, poor little guy. He just wants to chill out and eat cakes.
Yep. And breads. And eggs.
Yeah. And breads and eggs. Yeah. So I thought the movie was good, though. I mean, like I said, it got a little bit slow when he's, like, interviewing everybody. And as you pointed out, the pacing was, like, sometimes fast, sometimes slow.
Yeah, because some of those interviews go really fast. Like, there's one scene where he's interviewing 3 people that are cross-cut together, but some of them are, like, just really focused on the interview for, like, long sections.
Yeah, and it kind of, for me, made it a little bit, a little bit drawn out, but otherwise good. Like, I liked it. I didn't think, like, with all the criticism that I would like it as much as I did, but I thought that the movie was good. I'm always, like, a little bit more lenient, though, so I liked it. I like the character, like, Poirot portrays, because it's, like, this quirky detective with this, like, giant mustache.
Yeah, classic detective archetype.
Yeah, right. The mustache is, like, a character in and of itself, so I think that's just kind of funny, but I like his quirkiness.
Yeah.
One character that like we didn't really talk about is the train like I guess proprietor's son is what he says. Like he's kind of running the train
Yes, yeah.
operation type of thing. I think his name is it Buke?
Yeah, I didn't say it
Ye-
because I don't know how to pronounce it. Even though it's pronounced in the movie, I just like
yeah, I want to say it's Buke, but
something like that,
I'm
yeah.
not positive. Yeah, but I really like his character.
Yeah, it's a
He
fun role
wasn't
to
like
bounce off of.
yeah. I thought he was good because he's kind of like this like in the beginning he's kind of like portrayed as this like fun-loving guy. I mean, he like comes in with like a prostitute and it's all
Oh yeah,
like
well
the
he's
laughing about
literally
it.
like, I'm a terrible person. But
Yeah, exactly. Like I love his personality. Like he has no qualms about, you know, his vices and stuff. And
yeah.
he's just like, yeah, I'm just riding this train, like running the train, like I hardly get off of it. You know, like anyway, it's just like I love his personality. And I didn't want to like not talk about him because I thought he was like my favorite character of the whole movie.
Yeah, and he gets like placed as kind of the understudy because he's like
Yeah.
Poirot's like, you're the one person I know didn't do it, so
Yeah.
he's kind of like helping him out with the case.
Yeah, I like how he's helping him out. Yeah, I thought that was kind of a cool little sidekick kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, I wanted to talk about that one. But like I said, I was surprised by the outcome that like everybody did it.
Yep.
Because I totally like when they're going through and he's putting together that all these people are connected to the Armstrong family, I was like, what? Like, why? They just happen to be on the train at the same time? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, like this because
I'm
they
like,
planned it.
like, no, this is definitely planned out. But, like, I didn't put it together that they all were in on it. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Not just
so
in on it,
that
they
was
all
just
did
me.
it. Like, it's not like,
They
oh,
all
they
did,
all had to be
exactly.
there to play, like, a part in it, like a
Yeah.
heist. It was like, no, they all committed the
Yeah.
murder.
They all did it. Yeah, I did not see that coming. Even when they're putting all the pieces together of all these connections, like just didn't see it coming. But I thought that was kind of funny because I feel like maybe other people would have put that together before me. but I also, like I said, I felt like the movie was a little drawn out, so I was like pausing it, getting up to get snacks, like, you know, kind of like a little interrupted. But I thought it was kind of cool. I don't know that I like the ending where everybody did it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I would have liked it if it was like one or two people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, because I think like it's a little more intriguing of like how a couple of people did it rather than like everybody had each other's backs on it, so like you couldn't distinguish the facts. But I guess that makes Poirot's conclusion even more impressive because he like figured out all these people's like the holes in all of their stories and how they all work together to do it. So I guess it makes for a more impressive ending, but I was kind of like, oh, I didn't even consider. One thing I read like after I watched the movie was like people like kind of criticize like how they came out of the train like for certain settings. So there were a few scenes where like, you know, the train is stopped in this avalanche, and like one's like the chase scene with the assistant guy and they like the fight with him, and the other one's like where he has a little table set up and he questions the governess.
Yeah, outside.
It's all like outside. And then the end scene, like where they're all like seated at this long table, kind of like the Last Supper, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw some criticism online like about that. And I was like, I actually like that. Like I like that they came out of the train a little bit. I felt like it
Did
added...
that not take place in the original?
I don't know. I just read like some criticism
I guess not
on the
if
film
people
like
were
after I watched
criticizing
it.
it. Like they must have
Yeah,
changed it for
like
the adaptation.
Yeah, they said like they tried to like kind of take that closed environment outside a little and it just didn't work. I liked it. Like I thought it was like you know, these movies are supposed to be like I don't know the word for it, but like they're not like, to me, like they're kind of like oh, I can't even think of what word I want to use. But you know how like at the end, like you're saying the scene where the train is driving by and Poirot's standing outside and you could see everybody in the windows kind of thing. Like it's just like very dramatic type of thing. So when they're like lined up at this long table, like the Last Supper, I liked it. Like I thought it was like kind of a cool little, everybody's all together and he's like saying what each of them did. So I didn't mind that. So some of the criticism I read online, I was kind of like, I don't take it that seriously. Like, I think it's fine.
I can see if that's an adaptational change not liking it, because,
Yeah.
like, part of the appeal of, like, a train mystery is that it's, like, a locked room mystery,
Yeah,
and if they can
it's
go
a locked room.
outside,
Yeah.
that kind of, like, defeats the purpose, but I don't know.
Yeah. I know. I just like I like seeing like the scenery outside. And I thought it was like
it was,
more
like,
interesting.
rocks and snow
Yeah,
in the
it's
one
pretty.
tunnel.
Well, agree to disagree. I liked it, and even with the character, the governess, like she mentions, like, oh, like I get to freeze outside while you know, question everybody in the warmth of the cabin. So like they call it out too, but I liked seeing the scenery and stuff, like the more intrigue of being out in the snow, outside of the train car. I thought was interesting.
I mean, I don't think there's any intrigue in that, but it's just, I don't know, guess adaptational change. I mean, I wouldn't have even noticed it if you hadn't brought it up. That just, like,
Yeah.
didn't seem like anything to me. But I will say about the ending, I feel like it's sort of like when you're writing these, because during a lot of mystery stories, a lot of characters are still suspects until, like, very late, sometimes till the very end.
Mm-hmm.
That's just sort of how these things go. Like, a lot of people have, like, motive and opportunity
Mm-hmm.
too, and I feel like, one of the, like, obvious solutions to that when you're writing that's like, oh, why is everybody still a culprit? What if they all did it?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's, like, when you're sitting down to, like, plan one of these out, that's, like, one of the places you could take it.
Yeah.
But in execution, I think I have to, like, say, yeah, it feels like kind of a cop-out to just be like, oh, well, they all did it. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
And all for basically the same reason.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was interesting that, they're all connected in this other way. And it showed to me, like, when a tragedy happens, like, how many people can really be affected that, you might not think about at first. So, I thought that part of it I thought was cool. But yeah, like you're saying, it is kind of a cop-out.
Yeah. But, yeah, because a lot of the, like, finding out scenes ends up being kind of perfunctory because, it's gonna be all the same thing. Once you catch on that it's like,
right.
Oh, they all did it. Like, oh, they're all connected to this family.
Yeah.
Like, they all had like,
motive,
the same reason to do it.
Yeah. Very interesting.
But, yeah, otherwise, fine movie, I guess. Like, Poirot's a fun character. I thought, the actor portraying him did a good job.
Yeah, and that got criticized too. Like his kind of, I think I read one thing that said like his hamminess, like he was like, like he really, because he was the actor and director, they said, like one thing I read said that he like gave his character like more depth because like he had like his mysterious love interest that he had like
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
That, like, does not matter at all to the story, but it does happen, yeah.
So they're like, he gave his character, like, more depth and, like, they show where he's, like, kind of sad and, like, talking to this frame picture of his mysterious lost love. But he didn't do that, like, for the other characters. And that was a criticism that I was kind of like, yeah, it really didn't matter to the movie that he was, like, had this, like, lost love. Besides giving the character more depth, but I don't think, like, it really needed that.
Yeah, that's not the point of these detective characters usually, unless, like, the story is specifically focusing on their, like, interiority.
Yeah.
Like, they're usually just a, like, figure for you to bounce stuff off of to solve a crime,
Right. I mean, it didn't bother me, but, like, after reading...
No, but I totally forgot about it till you mentioned it.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter, like, but they put that in there anyway, so, but, I mean, it was whatever, it didn't bother me, but I was kind of like, yeah, you're right, it doesn't really do anything for the plot.
I'm willing to bet if there's all these criticisms that the, like, that an earlier adaptation, like I believe there's a movie in the 70s as an adaptation of the story, I'm willing to bet that's, like way better than this one.
Yeah, well, I know it. I know like Ingrid Bergman won like Best Supporting Actress. So I mean, it was like an award-winning movie,
Okay,
but
but yeah, I'm willing to bet it's a better movie, and
it
that's
probably
probably
is.
why people are so like down on this one. It's like doesn't
Yeah.
live up as it like It's like why make this if there's already like a better adaptation?
Yeah, but honestly, like I like that they brought the Poirot like anthology back. Like and after seeing like I had already seen Death on the Nile and then like other murder mystery movies, to me they're all like this. Like, it didn't bother me at all, but I think you're right in saying that because there was a good, I guess a critically acclaimed 1974 version of it that was also like a star-studded cast that this one felt a little bit forced or why remake something that was really good. So I think it's getting that comparison.
Yeah.
But to me, I was like, all these movies are like this. Like, I don't, I think people take it too seriously. So,
Well, I'm willing to bet that if I had watched the original first, I would also be like comparing the two.
yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
because I'm sure there's probably like acting or something that's like way better than in the original or something, or like adaptational choices that the original
Yeah.
makes that this new one does differently that like end up making a
Right.
weaker movie. I don't know. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think if you're comparing, yeah, it might be a little different. Or even if I had read the novels.
Yeah, that
But
as well.
but just seeing it like without knowing the outcome, without knowing, about the other, well, without seeing the other adaptations or reading the novel, I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's a fine movie.
Yeah.
Not my favorite detective movie, but still a solid
Yeah,
movie.
I agree. I agree with that. I like the Death on the Nile better, I think.
I haven't seen that one. I liked Crooked House, the one we did
Yeah.
for the other Agatha Christie we've done for the podcast better.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I don't remember it that well, but I never remember movies. I never remember movies or books after I read them or watch them. Like I have a vague memory, but I remember liking it. It's terrible.
Yeah, well, I guess that's everything.
I think so.
All right, well, this has been Beach View. Thanks for listening and tune in next time. Bye.
Bye.